Hi guys and welcome. Today I'm in the mood for greens. There's nothing more refreshing and vibrant and invigorating than having something either taste fresh and green or smell fresh and green or just look beautifully green, and that's the mood I'm in today. And I wanted to just round up my green fragrances and show them all to you. There aren't that many actually. I'd say out of my entire collection, green is the smallest category that I have. It doesn't mean to say that I'm not fond of green. I clearly am, because I do have a nice little selection. I definitely have to be in a certain mood to wear a green fragrance, and when I'm in that mood, nothing else will do. And today I'm definitely in that mood. It's actually an incredibly hot day today. It's 25 degrees currently. Apparently it's going to get a lot hotter. And obviously green is a very broad term. We've got a lot of materials and ingredients that will give you that green sensation. Anything from fresh grass to pine to lovely fresh invigorating mint to a more bitter kind of neroli. So we'll just dive straight in, and my first green fragrance comes in the form of a Lancome, and it's kind of an honourable mention because it's not really a full bottle of the fragrance, it's more a mini, and it's one I keep more for memory or just to sniff to, you know, tap into a memory and just to feel a certain way. So from Lancome, this is a mini and it is called Eau de Lancome. This was, I think, more popular sort of around the late 80s, 90s. And I really love this. I don't have a full big bottle because, like I say, it's more about memory association. But this takes me, when I smell this, this takes me right back to a holiday I went on with my mum to Menorca. It was my first time abroad. And this scent completely captures that holiday. This is predominantly, I would say, if I can remember rightly, it's a bergamot, a limey bergamot, yeah. It's limey and bergamot bomb, I would say. It's so zesty and refreshing and bright. I mean, you would colour the juice a lime green because it's so invigorating, and it does smell kind of Mediterranean. It's all about the, I don't know if there even is bergamot, there must be. It's very much that kind of scent, very citrus. It's such a cooling, beautiful tonic of a fragrance. In association to my mum, I just keep it as a mini because it's more sentimental than anything, but it's a beautiful green, refreshing, fizzy, bright, lovely fragrance for a very hot day. It's Eau de Lancome by Lancome. So next up is a favourite of mine from the house of Nicolai, and it's called Angelys Pear, and it is a pear fragrance. It is not your typical juicy, sweet, zesty, you know, juice running down your hand kind of fruity scent. This is a chypre in its style. In my opinion, it's very chypre, it's very dry. It has a quite a dominant moss note, but it's green because it is very much a conference pear. This to me is all about a conference pear, that dry, earthy skin of the pear that's quite, you know, imagine the taste of very earthy, dry skin, and then you bite into it and you've got that crisp, ripe pear. It's actually firm ripe, it's a crisp bite. That's what this is for me. And it is very green. It's very green in a sort of, yeah, like a dry, earthy, dull green. But it's refreshing in that kind of way, in a crisp way. And I'd wear this in spring. This is a cold snap moving into warm weather kind of a fragrance. Really do enjoy this one. That is Angelys Pear. That's my second green fragrance. So another fragrance that really offers a huge green character and is really fresh and vibrant is from the house of Florabotanica, or no, the house of Balenciaga, and this is a Florabotanica. This has been discontinued, I believe, and they're still on sale in many different retailers. And I think actually the shop Latino, the online shop Latino, has the 100ml for a really great price. I think it's something like £46 for the 100ml. I have difficulty wearing this fragrance. I sometimes wonder if I hold on to it because of the bottle. The bottle is absolutely beautiful, artistic, abstract. What would you call that? It's sort of like pop art almost, isn't it? It's just beautiful. It's not a scent that I wear very often. I struggle. It's very strong. It's very heavy. It has a very predominant note of mint and cannabis. It's actually classed as a green rose fragrance. I don't get much rose. I think it's because I'm sensitive to the cannabis and possibly the mint in here. And the mint goes into a kind of spearmint toothpaste way somehow. It's very soapy. I think it's quite a soapy sort of scent. It's very clean, but it's very strong. It's quite overpowering, and I don't know if I would wear this on a very hot day because it can be quite headache inducing. I tend to crave this on unusual odd days throughout the year. There could be a day in spring where I think I'm just craving Florabotanica. Even in the winter, suddenly we'll be fancying this scent for some strange reason. And that's why I don't sell it, because every now and again I'll crave it. And when I crave this, there's nothing else that will give me this feeling, because it's such a distinct, strong character. It's enjoyable if you're in the mood for it, otherwise it's just too overpowering. But it is very green, so it's a very green, minty fresh cannabis style rose. So that is Florabotanica by Balenciaga. So next is quite a nice, clean and well put together fragrance from the house of Penhaligons. It's from their portrait line, and this is called the Impudent Cousin Mathew, and I love the duck. I love the duck. Now, I actually won this in a giveaway. I was very lucky to win this, and Cousin Flora. So that had the little bird head with the purple juice. This one obviously has got the green juice, as you can see, and it is a green fragrance. I think it's petitgrain, mandarin, and possibly musk. It's quite a straightforward, simple scent. It's refreshing. It's quite watery, but it's very much this petitgrain note. It's like a woody, dark green scent. That's petitgrain obviously shares many characteristics to neroli, but I find the petitgrain obviously it's slightly woodier scent. It goes slightly more woody. You get a bit of the mandarin in here. You get just a very sort of small thread to give it that brightness and maybe a hint of sweetness, but it's a very, very simple fragrance. And when I'm in the mood for petitgrain, that petitgrain neroli style of fragrance, this is obviously a lovely one to go for, because it is fresh, it is light, and it's very easy to reach for in the summer. And I'm very happy to have won it. It is a petitgrain I can't talk today. Petitgrain forward fragrance. So that is that one. And so next up is a very special fragrance in my collection. It's special because it is a unique style of fragrance, but it's also very special because it was made by the very fair hands of Scott from the fragrance channel, the Scenturion. So my friend Scott announced last year that he was making his first ever fragrance, and of course that was incredibly exciting, and he was very kind to have gifted me the fragrance itself. So this is Legio X. So obviously Scott's channel is based around a Roman soldier, which of course is called a Centurion, and he's followed that concept through into his first fragrance, which is Legio X, which was the 10th legion of Julius Caesar. And the story of the Legion X, of course, is attached to the fragrance, and the fragrance is characteristics of different elements of that story. I have done a dedicated video. I go into a lot more depth with the unboxing and how it arrived in the beautiful scroll with the story on it, and I'd love you to check it out if you haven't already, because it gives you the whole backstory of the fragrance. Or if not, head over to Scott and check it out on his channel, show him some support and some love. Let's get into this perfume. Obviously you can see it's still in the box. I always keep it safe in the box because it's a special fragrance, it's sentimental and a special gift, and I keep it protected. And I just love the box, to be honest with you. I think it's just lovely. So Legio X is a really lovely green aromatic style of fragrance. There's quite a lot of emphasis in here on mint and tomato leaf. They're the notes that I've always said stand out to me. That's what springboards from my skin. And it's the tomato leaf that I really, really enjoy. All the elements and notes in Legio X do have significance, and they all relate to the story, this backstory. And the mint in here represents what the Romans would use as a breath freshener, so they chew on mint. You've got tomato leaf, which is a tribute to Italy. There's a very soft leather in here, which is a reference to the saddle work on the horses and the lining of the armor. There's a bit of sweetness and green crispness from an apple, which I believe they would plant on their journey, seeded and planted along the route they took, so that they would always have a refreshment and something to eat en route. So Scott has used all these elements in this fragrance, and it is beautifully done. I love how it opens up with this fresh, zesty green apple and citruses, and you go into the mid of this mint and the tomato leaf. The leather and vetiver isn't too strong. In fact, it's incredibly soft. It stops it from being a heavy fragrance. Since wearing this more, I've noticed the musks actually come out quite a bit on my skin, and it gives it kind of this hazy, soft quality. It really helps this fragrance to stick around. My husband has pinched this from me on so many occasions, and I think it's because he likes leather and vetiver in fragrance, I've noticed, and he's getting more into fragrance, which I'm quite proud of. That's my doing, obviously. And he likes those two notes, and on him the vetiver and leather come forward slightly more, and he really enjoys it. But of course the common ground here is that it is a green fragrance, and it smells very green and aromatic, and there are lovely, I think there's a herb bouquet in here giving it that lovely aromatic quality. And it's just a really beautiful solid and fantastic first fragrance from our friend Scott from the channel The Scenturion. So I will link his details below, along with the Etsy page where you can purchase Legio X. So that is Legio X by Scenturion Fragrance. So my next green fragrance is a beautiful indie offering from yet another YouTube reviewer, and this time it is from Ouch110, and that is our lovely Thomas O'Brien, and he created Faun. I have mentioned this quite a few times. Faun is a little magical scent for me, not just because it's called Faun, but it's so evocative of being outdoors in the most natural way. It's like the smell of autumn leaves. That's how I feel about this. It's me running through autumn leaves that are being whipped into the air. There's a crispness to it, there's a cleanness to it. You've got Lotus, you've got jasmine, there's a soapy quality under those florals, you have an aromatic herb quality, there's a warm animalic undercurrent in here, very, very subtle, and there's a spice as well, a slight spiciness. And I feel a lot of different things when I wear it, which is why I enjoy it so much. You know when you go into these really posh hotels and you go into the bathrooms and you, instead of having flowers in a jar, you have all these like dried grasses and dried flowers and dried things and this and that. That can give you that scent of, yeah, like grasses and hay, that kind of quality. But because you're in a posh bathroom with a posh soap nearby perhaps, and you've got that lovely, clean, expensive soapy feeling, it's like that as well, being in this posh hotel bathroom. It's lovely for spring, it's lovely for autumn, it's lovely for any time. It reminds me of the autumn, but I like wearing it in the spring and the autumn. It's a magical green scent and I love it. So that is Faun by Thomas O'Brien. So next, a fragrance from TRNP Rainfall Natural Parfums, and this is Blue Lotus. And like I say, this is all natural and it really does smell all natural. It's a beautiful, thick, luxurious quality, and Tioni is like this sorceress. I've always said that she's this sorceress because she can invoke these emotions from her fragrances. She can take you places with these beautiful uses of her natural ingredients and materials, and in here there's a beautiful amount of Mysore sandalwood, and it really comes through. It makes it there's a warm, luxurious undercurrent in here. But I always find this to be quite a green. I find it green. I think it's because there's this cold crispness that seems to spring forward on my skin. The florals smell very exotic, almost yellow. They smell thick and yellow and exotic. There's an icy cold crisp forward scent that sits on top of a very warming luxurious current of sandalwood, and I love wearing this in the winter. I think it's possibly more targeted towards spring because of the florals, but I find it's beautiful in the winter. I always think of magical glistening snow on grass when I smell this. I don't know, it doesn't smell grassy honestly, but there's something about that just brings that bit of winter magic to my nose. I find it very green. For me, I think of it as a green scent for my nose. So yeah, that is Blue Lotus by TRNP Rainfall Natural Parfums. So next, from the house of Maison, actually I think they're gone back to being called La Privée Dior, or Dior La Privée. I think they've dropped the Maison part. Anyway, this is Lucky, and I have mentioned this a few times before because it is one that I really enjoy. I find this to be a very simple, green, watery, ethereal fragrance. It's very straightforward. It's Lily of the Valley. It's just Lily of the Valley with, I think there's a musk, possibly some other green notes in here. It's clean, it's slightly sparkling, it's bright green, like a very bright light green, very fresh, very simple. The scent of I don't know, like a Lily of the Valley soap, but not in a heavy soapy way. It's definitely more refreshing than that. It has a sparkle to it. It's very, very simple. I believe Lily of the Valley was Christian Dior's lucky flower, and he would pin that flower to his models as they walked up the runways, and that is why he dedicated this fragrance to that and called it Lucky. Pretty, clean, easy, delicate, very enjoyable. That is my Lily of the Valley watery fragrance from Dior, so that is Lucky. So next, from the house of Faun Manle, we have Confessions of a Garden Gnome. I will never stop gushing over this one because it's a special one in my collection. I don't wear it often because it's one of these that I will covet because it's very much a piece of art for me. It's more than just a fragrance. It's a mood, it's a feeling. It's strong lily and lily of the valley. It's a very strong white floral, but they are sitting in a garden after the rain. It's quite a dewy scent. This is very much a dewy, magical, atmospheric garden. You've got beautiful ambergris here, which gives it this slightly salty animalic quality. Just brings this whole level of interest. Sweetness, I believe that's coming from a fruit called a yuzu, and I always find this gives me a sweet floral tobacco, although there's no tobacco, I believe, listed. That's how I think of this scent, a sweet, fresh rolled tobacco. I love that. It really is beautiful, and I layer it with Lucky from Dior because it brings out the white florals and it gives it this more watery, ethereal feeling. They both pair up beautifully. So Confessions of a Garden Gnome, another beautiful green fragrance here from the house of Faun Manle. So next up is another indie fragrance from a house called Papillon Artisan Perfumes. And I've never made this connection before, but smelling this after smelling Confessions of a Garden Gnome, I've realised there's a lot of similarities actually in the style and what it's offering. Now this is Tobacco Rose. I love this fragrance ever so much. And again, it's called Tobacco Rose. There's no actual tobacco listed, but you're getting a wet tobacco feeling from the notes in here, much like I've mentioned from Confessions of a Garden Gnome. That's a white floral focused tobacco-y style in mine. For me, this is a rose tobacco focused floral fragrance. A massive dose of ambergris, much like Confessions of a Garden Gnome. So I'm getting a similar story, but they just have a different focus in them. This is dewy. It's mossy, it's, like I say, there's ambergris, and there's this beautiful rose. There is a fresh one. It's definitely has this moisture coming from, possibly from being planted near moss. I love the moss in here. There's no artificial sweetness in here. It's very natural smelling. I believe there's beeswax or honey, one or the other in here, that gives this lovely sweet tang, natural sort of sweet waxy tang to the rose. And you've got this earthiness as well. And overall, it's this kind of, with all those notes, you get in this sort of tobacco sort of style of scent, but it's a very fresh, mossy, watery, uplifting tobacco, if that makes sense. So beautiful. Although it's not heavy in any way, I would think of this more as a winter fragrance or an autumn, probably more winter. This perhaps an evening out in the pub, having a really cozy dinner. Yeah, a country pub, something like that. That's how I associate wearing this fragrance, but it's a stunning one. But I find it does bring this green quality from moss. This is green rose on a different scale. Instead of being a summer dewy green rose, this is a mossy winter green rose, and I love it. So that's Tobacco Rose by Papillon Artisan Parfums. So last but by no means least, we have a fragrance I'm mildly obsessed with at the moment. I absolutely love this scent, and it's from a house that I love as well. This is Ormonde Woman from Ormonde Jayne, and I did do an unboxing recently of this fragrance. This is green. It's green and woody and aromatic. It's green from this beautiful grass oil. It makes it feel like this spa-like, beautiful aromatic spa-like fragrance, but there's something very ethereal about it. It's very beautifully balanced. It's very clean, very smooth. The more I wear this, the more I get this image in my head that it smells like an elf. This is the scent of a beautiful wood elf. If you know Lord of the Rings, you probably know what I'm talking about. An elf from Lothlorien. And it's funny because obviously this was a fragrance, as I've already mentioned, I bought this because of Cherie from the fragrance channel The Top Note. Inspired this purchase because this is a scent that she absolutely adores, and it's a signature scent for her. And I do think of her as this very elven-like looking lady. She's like Australia's answer to Galadriel. She's ever so classy and absolutely beautiful, and she's very elven in her ways. And this, because of the style of this fragrance, this green, very ethereal, very natural, silky smooth and clean scent, it isn't the scent of elves. It just is for me. Grass oil does, I think it's quite a dominant note for me on my skin. It's very beautifully done. You've got black hemlock, brings this kind of piney, evergreen kind of feeling, which is not strong, which is good, because I'm not keen on those sort of scents. They're quite challenging for me, those sort of evergreen pine scents, but it doesn't come out too strongly on me, which is good. Definitely get a lot of the woods. You've got the cedar, you've got sandalwood, vetiver. There's a lovely use of spice coming from cardamom and coriander, and it's subtle, it's not too peppery or anything. It's a warm, softly done, aromatic kind of spice. So yeah, a classy, as always with Ormonde Jayne, very classy, very understated, but beautifully blended, aromatic kind of a fragrance, and I'm absolutely enjoying this one. It's Ormonde Woman by Ormonde Jayne, and that is the last of my green fragrances that I'm showing you today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I'm thinking what my favourite green note is. I love a dewy moss, but you know what? It's made me realise that I've left a fragrance out, and I'm just too lazy to go upstairs and include it, because this is taking ages actually. Fig. I love fig. The note of fig, it's earthy, it's juicy, it's just delicious. I've got Fico di Amalfi upstairs, which would have been a lovely addition to this green selection. And it's the most juicy and vibrant and summer friendly scent out of all of these. And I wish I'd included it, but never mind, doesn't matter. That's it, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching as always. See you on the next one. Over and out.